What's going on, everyone? You're listening to the Brazos Sports Prepscast. I'm Alex Miller with the Eagle, joined always by Abigail Ochoa. Abigail, what's going on?
I'm doing good. It's playoff season, which is my favorite. And we're in a snazzy new studio here, so that's always nice.
Yeah, is this your first time in the new studio?
It is my first time, yeah. So,
there we go.
Yeah.
There we go. Yeah, for those listening, we're doing a special episode today as the high school baseball season wraps up its regular season, and we're starting playoff softball today here in the Brazos Valley. We're recording on a Wednesday, so we're going to jump into all the action. Let's start first. We've got a big series this week in 19-5A baseball between College Station and A&M Consolidated. The College Station Cougars, they won last night 6-4 over their crosstown rivals. Yeah. This was a great game. Abigail, you were there covering the game. You know, what really stood out to you in the Cougars' win over the Tigers?
Yeah, well, this is always a good game. It brings out a lot of people. We were just talking about like the fans and how great they were, the student sections and everything like that. But as far as the game goes, I think College Station, they found the answer pretty early and they stuck with it. They weren't doing anything too crazy or anything like that. They really stuck to what they were doing at the plate, and I think we saw obviously Dalton Carnes and Blake Bindrup had great games at the plate. Dalton obviously had that triple that just barely missed the Consol outfielder's glove, brought in 2 runs there to get the lead, and then Blake Bindrup really fought at the plate for every single pitch, and then his single to left field was like the 9th pitch that Hunter Bond threw. So great night at the plate. And then you obviously have a pretty good night on the mound with Ryland and Max Childress coming in relief. So, yeah, like I said, I think College Station just found the answer and they stuck with it and they weren't going to do anything differently, regardless of Consol's comeback there at the end or the crowd or anything like that.
We should rewind real quick and explain why this is a big game, though.
Yeah.
Both teams came into Tuesday's game tied for 4th in the district standings at, I believe it was, 8-6?
8-6.
Yeah,
yes.
8-6. So they're fighting for the last playoff spot there in the district. And so College Station now with a 1-game lead. They're going to play again Friday at 7 o'clock at College Station High School. College Station got the win, but we saw how close Consol was to fighting back and pulling off a comeback win. It just wasn't the Tigers' night. It was just a bounce off. Everything was going the Cougars' way. But what'd you really see in the fight that the Tigers gave last night?
Well, I think Coach Leonardton said it best at the end of the game. He said College Station just kept scoring. Like, we couldn't keep them off the scoreboard. And that was so true. They would getting these 1 runs, in the 5th and the 6th and the 7th, like they were just putting runs on the board. So I think that was a problem defensively for Consol. But I think also you might be able to speak more to this because you've seen them more this season. But I think when Consol is not doing well at the plate, everything else just kind of falls apart. And we saw that. And even when they were able to get good movement and people were getting on base and runs were coming in. I mean, it was 5-4 at one point. I mean, they were close. They could have tied it, and then they could have won it in the 7th. They loaded the bases there. So I think they're able to get on base, but I think as soon as they get into that hole and then they're trying to claw back out of it, that's where we really see the problem. And I think if College Station is able to do something similar on Friday, that's going to be trouble for Consol to try to battle back. But yeah, I don't know if maybe we've seen that all season from Consol, but that's kind of what I saw on Tuesday.
Yeah, when they've played some of these better teams in their district, it seemed at times that they've had a hard time scoring runs.
Yeah.
A lot of that's just been indicative of it's been a windy spring.
That's
you look at both of these teams, their ballparks are positioned to where the wind just blows in. And last night it was very still.
It was.
Honestly, the wind was blowing out just a smidge.
Yeah.
And we saw how, Dalton Carnes hit 2 off the wall. Blake Bindrup hit the solo home run well over the left center field fence. Yeah. Like, that was the ballpark was playing for hitters last night, whereas the last few weeks it really has not. Yeah. Consol themselves, they had their chances, but a base running caught stealing. they get runners on and they get a unfortunate double play right at the first baseman. And then, Max Childress just closing it out with just kind of a gritty save there at the very tail end of that game.
Yeah.
Just they had their chances, just weren't able to capitalize, whereas the Cougars were.
Yeah. Well, it's good for the Cougars at least. I mean, they know that they have a good pitching staff there. To have, Rylan Urbanzik come in, and he did get a few runs past him, but he's still strong. He's the guy that you want on the mound in a situation like this where you have to win a game on the road, technically, down the street. But, yeah, and then to get Max Childress to come in for 2 innings, or I don't even know if it was a full 2 innings. It might have been like 1 2/3 or something like that. But for him to come in and really shut it down, he got that strikeout in the 6th to end the inning, and then he strikes out and then forces a fly out to end the game and hold them there. So great for their pitching staff to have an outing like that. And then obviously their batters kind of came in and showed up too.
Yeah, and so the math's simple now. If College Station wins Friday, they're in the playoffs and Consol is out. If the Tigers win, they're going to force a 1-game playoff Saturday, likely to be in Caldwell is what I've been told.
Yes, I think
so. Just kind of looking at Friday's matchup, College Station, they're likely to pitch Blake Binderup. He's kind of been their number 2 guy all season. Of course, he's signed with A&M. Looking at Consol, Sam Nitsky, he's probably going to be their likely starter. Okay. He's had some great outings this year as a junior.
I don't think I've seen him play this year, but yeah.
Tall guy, can really throw it. He's got a couple pitches. Kyle Collins came in relief last night and didn't throw a ton. So, if they have to turn to their bullpen, he could be an option for the Tigers.
And Doris also came in that last inning, so that's also a possibility. I did feel like they did a good job. I mean, Bond, I think it was like rough. It was like a rough start for both him and Ryland. It was like they were walking a lot of people. There was a lot of walks happening. But he honestly did a pretty good job on the mound. And then you get Collins and Doris to kind of come in, and they weren't able to stop a few of the runs, but I think, relatively to how the game was going, I think they had a pretty good outing. And like you said, they have plenty left to go if they want to play on Friday too.
Now, the thing is, College Station's going to be playing regardless on Saturday. We'll talk about that in a second. So how they handle their pitching staff is probably going to be a little different. Consol's got to go all in. They have got to win Friday.
Yes.
Whereas College Station, they know no matter what, they're going to be playing Saturday. Obviously, they'd probably like to win Friday so they wouldn't have to be playing for a playoff spot on Saturday.
Yes.
But knowing that you're for sure going to be playing a game Saturday, that may change how they handle the back end of their bullpen.
Yeah,
certainly helped them probably that they only threw 2 guys Tuesday night, and Childress, of course, he didn't throw that much, so he could probably come play on that Saturday game if he wants.
Of course.
So let's pull up those district standings now. And so you take a look at it. Magnolia, they've wrapped up the Magnolia and Brenham and Magnolia West. They're all clinched playoff spots. Where it gets interesting here is this 4 and 5 spot. So, like we said, if Consol beats College Station, they will play a playoff game Saturday. Where it gets interesting is if Brenham were to lose to Waller on Friday and College Station were to win, there'd be a 3-way tie for second, which would force a 3-team playoff on Saturday.
Gosh.
Which, from what I've been told, could result in 3 games at a neutral site. Don't know where that would be. A logical spot would maybe be Navasota. That's kind of in the center of all 3 of those places.
Great stadium, too.
Yeah, in a great stadium. If Brenham wins and College Station wins, College Station would play a seeding game against Magnolia West, which could favor the Mustangs, considering they aren't playing this week, and their ace, James Ellwanger, would be ready to go on a Saturday playoff game.
Yeah.
So, that's a lot. There's a lot to be played for here. I think it just goes to show how crazy this district has been. Even these bottom teams having a chance to really impact what's going on up here.
I feel like that was in softball, too. Like, we saw a lot of ties at the very end. We saw a lot of playoff tiebreakers that just happened.
2 tiebreaker games.
That just happened yesterday. I mean, it's 19-5A this year has been really, really stacked on both sides. So that'll be interesting. And College Station, they split both games with Brenham and Mag West. So, like, anybody could win. It's not like there's a favorite, I think, over anyone else. But yeah, it'll be interesting if that actually does happen. It's playoffs before playoffs.
We'll quickly mention Rudder. They're out of the playoffs contention, but they're wrapping up their regular season against Katie Jordan this week.
Yes.
Playing today, Wednesday, and then again Friday. Mm-hmm. So the Rangers, they're wrapping up their regular season. It's going to be another great game on Friday. So
if you're
looking for some baseball to watch, head out to College Station High School. Probably get there early because it's probably going to be packed.
I'm sure it'll be packed.
Again. So... all right, let's switch over to the other diamond sport, which is softball.
Okay.
Playoffs are starting this week. We've got 2 local teams in the postseason. Got Bryan, they finished 4th in 12-6A, lost their tiebreaker game to Belton. And Consol, crazy. They were playing for the district championship, lose a tough game to Waller, come back Tuesday, lose to Brenham.
Yeah.
Brenham's pitcher just threw an absolute gem. So the Tigers... they're a dangerous 3rd seed out of 19-5A. Abigail, let's start with Bryan.
Yeah.
It's been kind of an interesting season for the Lady Vikings.
Yeah,
They went to the regional finals last year. They lost some key pieces, but brought some really good players back. Mm-hmm. But they really had to find their way a little bit after their head coach, Enrique Luna, got fired at the start of the season. What have you kind of made of the Vikings season and where they're at right now?
Yeah, I think the fact that they're in the playoffs, they have a chance to advance. I know they have a tough first round opponent, but still, you never know what can happen in the playoffs. I think the fact that they're here is a breath of fresh air for them. Like you said, they've gone through obviously a lot. You lose your head coach that has been part of the program for years and years and years, helped you out to the regional finals last year, and has just really been... He was so important to just the girls in general. Like, I think they really was like a family over there. So, Alexis Rodriguez said like earlier, like kind of after it happened, a few weeks after it happened, they're trying to play for him and they're trying to do well, to honor kind of what he was able to teach them and how he was able to coach them. So, it's been a whirlwind for them. Luckily, I don't know if Billy Hicks was hired during the offseason as an assistant coach. I mean, to have that, obviously we didn't know this would happen, but to have that kind of experience and that, I mean, he's a great coach. We saw what he did at Consol before he retired. And I think they're all just trying to pick things up and keep it going. They had a really, really good run through district play. They had a stretch where they lost 3 games in a row. But, that happens, and I think they've done a really good job of just picking themselves up, continuing to go. And like you said, the returning girls that came, they were really strong. You have Alexis Rodriguez, Martha Alvarado, Olinger on the mound. So it was a lot of people that came back, which I think helped them a lot this season, even when they didn't know that they would need it eventually. But, yeah, I think the fact that they're here is a breath of fresh air for them.
Consol, like we said, so close to winning 19-5A in a very top-heavy district. Mm-hmm. How do you feel about the Lady Tigers' chances to make a playoff run? They're definitely a dangerous 3rd seed out of this district.
For sure. I was thinking it's kind of similar to like during football season where we were saying like Burton and teams like that were really, their records were deceiving. Their seeding was deceiving. Like they're so much better than they look to be if you're just looking at those things. But I think Consol can be really dangerous in the playoffs, but the loss to Waller and then obviously the one to Brenham yesterday, they were shut out in both of those games. They're trying to climb out of this hole. I think if they had won against Waller, obviously that would have changed things. It would have been district title, but I think that really helped with their confidence coming into the playoffs. 2 losses down, I think is going to be really hard to get out of. And I think we're going to see they have to set the tone pretty early against Kingwood Park. Kingwood Park's a good team. They finished 2nd in their district, I believe, which was a tough district. When you just look at the standings there, it was really tight too. So, they're gonna have to set the tone early, and I think we're gonna find out pretty early within the first few innings how that game is gonna go. Similar to how it went with Brenham. Brenham set the tone early, and then Jasinski kind of shut it down for Consol. I think Consol only got 2 runners on, so it's a lot of trouble for them that they're gonna have to build out of and regain that confidence. Obviously, a quick turnaround. nobody wants that to happen. Unfortunately, it rained on Monday, so that canceled the game, gave them a less extra day of practice. But yeah, we'll see. It's obviously hard to climb out of that hole, but I think considering what they've done this season, considering how hard they fought for this seeding, I think it could go their way.
Yeah, let's pull up those playoff pairings for Consol and Bryan. So, Bryan, of course, they're going to play Mansfield Lake Ridge starting Thursday, game 1 at Lake Ridge, Friday at 5, game 2 at Bryan, game 3 will follow, and then Consol playing Kingwood Park Thursday, first game at Kingwood Park, Friday, 6 p.m. at Consol, game 3, Saturday at a site and time to be announced. All right. Let's flip back over to the baseball diamond. We can get back on our Brazos sports. And yeah, so let's look at Bryan Baseball for a second. They've made a sharp turnaround this season. You know, they haven't made the playoffs in a few years. And now they've clinched the district championship outright. They're undefeated right now in 12-6A. You know, they close the regular season this Friday against Harker Heights at home. Pitching seems to be where it really starts for this Vikings team, but they've got some power at the plate too.
Yeah, pitching to say the least. Obviously, Mason Ruiz and Eric Perez. I know he comes in sometimes, but yeah, I just so much power. I think it's almost similar to kind of like that last season when Bryan softball was kind of at this point. They were obviously getting ready for a good playoff run, but I think there was so much magic around it. Like the team was hype, the fans were hype. Everything was going right, and I think we're really seeing that with Bryan Baseball this season. It just kind of flipped for them, but yeah, they're doing really well. I think we can go through the whole lineup, and everybody is bringing something to the table. You know, whether it's Ruiz or Kubicek or Rylan Hill, like everybody is bringing something to the table, and so it's just really magical for them right now, and I think they have a really good chance to make a nice run there. But yeah, every week it's just like, what else are we gonna see from Bryan? What other shutout is gonna happen and stuff like that. But they have been battle tested too. I don't want to make it seem like they've run over everybody, but yeah, it's been really good for them so far.
Yeah, the Vikings, they're in the top 25 up in Class 6A now. You know, pitching can go a long way in the postseason. Having depth at pitcher is so pivotal when you're playing potentially 3-game series, and they've got that depth starting with Mason Ruiz, and then they've got Eric Perez that can come in at that second spot. He's just an all-around, just great player. Yeah, really gets it done at the plate too, and in the field. Rylan Hill, only a sophomore, committed to A&M. He is just a really big guy. Very good athletes. Yeah. And then they've even got another guy, Caleb Gotts, that can come in and get some outs. Kind of reminds me of what Max Childress can do for the College Station
That's
team.
A good point.
And so, just kind of looking at the district standings over in 11-6A, the district that they're paired with. Yeah. Bryan likely to play potentially Waxahachie or Mansfield in the first round of the playoffs. So still some stuff to be decided there. And I'm just mentally reminding myself I mispronounced that town. It's Waxahachie, I think. Yeah, there we go. Doug Pills would be so proud of me.
Well, it's funny because Bryan softball played them in the first round last year, so that's funny. Yeah, it's a interesting name.
Pronunciations, just Texas towns.
Arbanza gets me every time. And last night I was talking to Carnes after the game, and it sounded like I don't know. It's like I was 5 years old or something. I couldn't get his name out. But yeah.
Well, looking at the private school ranks, all 3 of our local teams are doing pretty well. Brazos Christian, they're playing for a district championship this week against Rose Hill Christian. Looking at the Eagles, Sam Kinnard has been just excellent on the mound this year. He's starting a complete game, a couple no-hitters, perfect game here and there. We knew there were some athletes on that Eagles team from their football season, so this shouldn't be a surprise that some of those same suspects are now doing a lot of good things on the baseball field. So we'll see if they can keep things rolling. And then Allen Academy, they're playing St. Joe's on Friday at 4:30. This is going to be, I think, for second place in their district, which is TAPS Division 5, District 3. Allen's Jehu Lee, he was named Texas High School Baseball's private school hitter of the week last week after going 3 for 3 with a home run, 4 RBIs, and 3 runs scored. So
another football player that
we've heard about. Down in the private school ranks, you kind of have to play all sports. So
yeah.
That's it's not surprising that we hear a lot of the same suspects.
Yeah, and they're really good at it. So
that's true.
Why not?
All right, I think that's going to do it for this special edition of the Brazos Sports Preps Cast. Abigail, where are you going to be this weekend covering high school softball?
I'll be in Kingwood Park tomorrow and then back here for Arkansas on Friday. But yeah, and then I think Robert Thasna will be covering Bryan on Friday.
Right.
So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, so follow at Brazos Sports on Twitter. Follow Abigail at Abigail Ochoa 88 on Twitter.
Yep.
And at Alex Mill 20 on Twitter for all your updates. I'll be at College Station
game,
Consol game Friday night. Yeah, it's going to be a great weekend on the Diamond. Yeah. And so check theeagle.com for all of our coverage. So for Abigail Ochoa, I'm Alex Miller. We'll see you next time.